Hey guys, you're watching Just Hoop Talk podcast on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and to our podcast on all streaming platforms. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Just Hoop Talk. You're with Justin Henry, Will Thompson. And Will, today it's time to go over the Western Conference
Here we go.
Finals. Man, how you feeling about them?
We're finally here, man, down to the last two teams in the West. It's been some great battles. Teams have earned it. Ready to see these teams play it out, man, and battle for that chance to go to the NBA Finals, baby. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. And the teams are set. We got the Lakers after they took care of business pretty easily against the small ball Rockets. Yeah. And we got the Denver Nuggets after a crazy 3-1 comeback against the Clippers, bro. Yeah. What are your thoughts on these Nuggets overall before we dive deep into these teams?
Yeah, it's definitely the surprise of the playoffs so far. I mean, if you look at their seeding, they were third in the West. So, like, not that far-fetched of a surprise, but everyone had the Lakers and Clippers, bro. Like, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion. We knew that was going to happen. And so for the Nuggets to jump into that spot and take over that second spot, it's definitely a surprise and a refreshing surprise at that, man.
Yeah, it's good that we're going to get to see somebody new in there outside of the two expected teams.
Yep.
I mean, I did kind of say that the Clippers weren't going to be doing that well this year. I did kind of say that the Nuggets might pull an upset, but I'm not going to pat my back or anything.
Yeah.
But what we can do is get into these Western Conference Finals matchups and talk about who has the advantage. So what we'll do real quick is get into who has the advantage with coaching, offense, defense, the biggest factor on each squad, and then also an overview of who we think is gonna win and in how many games. So let's get started with the coaching advantage. Will, this series actually has two pretty good coaches there. Yeah. Who do you think has the advantage?
I think, the guy who's hot right now obviously is Mike Malone, but I'm going with the Lakers and Frank Vogel, and for a different reason. I like Frank Vogel, don't get me wrong, but I like his staff, dude. I like the options that he has on his staff with Jason Kidd, and a sleeper thing too is like they have coaches on the court. They have a Rondo who's a coach on the court. They have a LeBron who's a coach on the court. So at one time or another, they always have someone out on the court. These guys have been through it all. Rondo's been through it all. LeBron's been through it all. They have all the experience in the world. So that experience that maybe Frank Vogel was lacking, LeBron has that. Rondo has that. And their coaches on the court. So we can't sleep on that, man.
Yeah, man. And having a coach on the floor is just as important, if not a little bit more important than even having coach on the bench. And I've been watching this team all year, man, and how I feel about them. But I'm still going to go a different route. I'm going to give the coaching advantage to Mike Malone and the Denver Nuggets. I really like what these guys are doing, and they have a different approach. And Mike Malone, he's been criticized a lot through this entire process about playing his young guys. But he's also sticking to his roots, which is a big reason why they were able to overcome that 3-1 deficit. And even being able to flip the switch. Sometimes, it's easy to be like, oh, no, I'm going to pass off the rookie after he makes some brash comments. Right. You're like, I'm going to play him a little bit more because, he said something. You can go one way or the other. But it seems like he has a really good flow of the game, even when the team is down. And that entire team really believes that they can come back and win any game. They think they're in any series, and that's all a reflection of the coaching staff and people above them. So much respect to this Denver coaching staff, man.
Yeah. They took a lot of heat, especially Mike Malone. Throughout his career, he's took a lot of heat, but he stayed true to who he is. And he stayed consistent to whatever his plan is, whether it's just defensively or offensively. He stayed true to who he is, and that could be why if they're able to come back in series, they don't panic. They make small adjustments.
We're out here in Sacramento, and people hated him at first, and then when he left, it's like, was he good or is he not? And so I think there's a lot of controversy around the way that he coaches, but I think that it's really effective in this format because his players know what to expect. They bought into the program. And now you're kind of seeing a reflection of that,
Definitely. So next we got to jump into the next factor that we want to talk about, and that's offense. Who do you think has the advantage offensively between these two teams?
Yeah, when you're talking about offense, you want to talk about great leadership on the floor, being able to make clutch shots.
Yeah.
And I think you got to go with the Lakers in this format. The Lakers, just top to bottom, yeah, they don't shine off as a hot three-point shooting team, but what they are is fast, great passers, and very diverse on what they can do on the floor. If LeBron's on the floor, obviously the flow is going to go through him, but you'll catch him in the post, you'll catch him in the mid-range, he'll hit the outside shot. You got Rondo in there mixing it up now, making creative passes. You got Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
One of the top players in the league that's able to get his shot off, can score 40 at any given moment. And then you got the supporting cast around him who any of their shooters can get hot, any of their bigs can start to get hot. They're going to be a tough out. Offensively, it's going to be tough to stop.
Yeah, I think obviously they look really good offensively. At times they looked stagnant, I feel like, before Rondo, but Rondo is that difference maker. I really believe that. He kind of makes them go and makes things run. But I don't want to sleep on the Nuggets because I watched the Nuggets against the Clippers, who are, a really good defensive team. And they looked almost unguardable, dude. And I think it's really, they have something that they can go to time after time, and it works. And that's a screen and roll with Jokic, dude. He's such a good passer coming off the screen and roll. He's such a good decision maker when they give him the ball in the post. I think he, for sure, is he's their point guard. If you look at their team, they don't really have a point guard. Jamal Murray's not really a point guard. The offense runs through Jokic, and I think he's that dude because he does so many things well. He's going to be a tough matchup for anyone out there. So I'm not sleeping on them offensively. They made the Clippers look really bad defensively. So I'm excited to see them offensively. I really am.
Yeah, and they kind of just come back, and you never, like you said, you never know where the offense is coming from too, whether it's the vets, whether it's from MPJ, and those guys, they kind of make that impact on the offensive floor. And I think where you start to see the difference in these teams is on defense.
Yeah.
Talk about the team that you think has the most advantage in the series defensively, because this could be a huge factor in where this series is won.
Yeah, I think if you just look at it, you got to look at the length of the Lakers and their strength individually, defensively, and you got to give the advantage to them. But again, I watched the Nuggets. They look really good defensively as a team. They have a great team defensive concept. We know Mike Malone is a team defense guy. They have some guys. They have Gary Harris, Jeremy Grant, Paul Millsap, some guys that can bang, some guys that are physical, can guard out on the wings. So I think if you look at it and you look at the matchups, you just don't see anyone that can guard LeBron directly. You don't see anyone that can guard Anthony Davis directly. But you got to give the advantage to the Lakers, but don't sleep on the Nuggets, though, for sure.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to agree with you there. I think defensively, that's where the Lakers do make their mark. You got LeBron chasing down every single layup he can. You have Anthony Davis, probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah. And then you also have the complementary players. You got a Danny Green who can come in there and lock up an MPJ or whoever the top wing is. Yeah. You got down low, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, man. Both of those guys are going to clean up the glass, block some shots. So, I mean, and the scary part about the Lakers is that, as we saw in the Rockets series, they could either be really big before that, or when a team goes small, they can go small ball and still be really effective defensively. So, I love what the Lakers are able to do defensively, and that they can mix and match. A lot of the switches are okay because even their athletics are really big. So I think you got to give them the advantage there, even though the Nuggets do have some pretty good perimeter defenders there on their team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting matchup, man. And, I don't know what exactly to expect. I don't know if the Nuggets are going to take it 7 games or if the Lakers are going to sweep this thing out. So there's really going to come down to those small things, that X factor, right? Those difference makers. What do you see as the X factors in this series?
Yeah, I think the X factor is going to be the role players for Denver. And by role players, I mean anybody not Jamal Murray or Jokic, because I know the Lakers are going to key in on them. And now we got to decide, is MPJ going to take that next leap? Michael Porter Jr., is he going to take that next leap?
Yeah.
Or are the vets going to come in and make plays that they need to, And if they come in and they play at a high level, which they've been doing, obviously, throughout these playoffs, they're not going to have that same leeway that they had earlier in the year with the Jazz, or that they had last series with the Clippers. They're not going to have that same leeway with the Lakers. The Lakers might come off a little slow, but they always finish fast. So if they're able, the role players are able to play at a very high level for the entirety of the series, the Nuggets will have a chance. But if they don't, you get Michael Porter Jr. not making shots, you get the role players not hitting shots very often or playing bad defense, I think you got to give it to the Lakers in that instance. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking of a similar thing for the Lakers too. I'm thinking of the other guys. So I'm thinking of who's going to be that third scorer consistently for this team. Like, we know LeBron is going to come out and kill. We know AD is going to come out and kill. Who's going to be that consistent third scorer? Who's going to step up and be that dude? Is it Kuzma? Is it Rondo? Is Danny Green going to get hot? Like, I think the Nuggets are going to be able to put up some points in this series, man. And I think the Lakers are going to need those other guys to step up and emerge as consistent scorers in this series. I really do believe that. So I'm looking at those other guys. Who the hell is going to be the other guy this series? Who's going to be consistent? It can't just be all LeBron and all AD. They got to get these other guys to step up.
Yeah, we saw that's a huge difference for this team, for the Laker team. You know, the games that they've lost, the role players didn't play well. Anthony Davis didn't play well. And so you can kind of tell it's when the other guys are ticking, that's when the Lakers are on full cylinder. So let's talk about the series overall. And we've had a chance to dive in a little bit to the specifics, but let's get a bigger picture and talk about who's actually going to win this series and in how many games. Because, I mean, on paper, you're going to say Lakers every time, but – you know, we've seen that the Nuggets can't be counted out on paper or off paper.
Yeah, I'm gonna go crazy and go out there and go with the Nuggets, man. Like, woo. I'm gonna put it on wax. I'm going with the Nuggets. I can't tell you exactly what they do that's that tough to guard, but they, for whatever reason, they're a problem, man. Jokic is a problem. You look at him, he's big, he's slow, he's unathletic. And you're like, how was this dude, like, all of his shots are, like, falling, fading away off of one leg, and somehow he's getting the job done. And it's kind of the same thing with this team. You're like, who is this dude? Who are the dudes coming off the bench? And they're killing, they're knocking down shots. So whatever it is, the Nuggets got the juice right now. They got a lot of momentum. They're feeling good. I'm going with the Denver Nuggets in 7.
Okay. Long series, man. And I agree. You know, I think the Nuggets are going to give the Lakers fits at times, you know, and they're tough to defend, tough to plan for, especially if they're hitting big shots or Jamal Murray gets going. But I think the Lakers have the advantage. And I'm not just saying that because I got this jersey on, but I truly think that they're the better team. I think that the length is going to give Denver problems, even though Denver's a pretty long team. I think when you got LeBron on your team, it's tough to just go any other direction outside of that because he can will a team to a win at any given point in time. I think if Anthony Davis is playing like Anthony Davis has been recently, it'll probably be a quicker series than people expect. I'm getting Lakers in 6. I think Lakers in 6 gives Denver a few opportunities. I want to say Lakers in 5, but I think Denver's a better team than people are giving them credit for. So I'm gonna go with Lakers in 6, man.
Yeah, how do you think this rest? Because when was the last time the Lakers played, bro? I feel like it's been forever. How do you think this rest is going to impact the Lakers? Because we saw that with Portland, right? They came out a little sluggish in Game 1 and gave up a win. So what do you think about this rest, dude?
I honestly think it works in the Lakers' favor. So it's not just the team that's had a rest, but if you think about it, even the bigs have had an entire series of rest because they didn't play against the Rockets. And when you take that longer rest, you're going to come out sluggish in that first game. But I think LeBron has always played like that, where he started off slow in Game 1, and then he's picked it up as the series is gone, and his teams tend to do the same thing. He's almost like a defensive fighter in that first half, the first game. He's seeing, all right, sizing them up, what do you guys have to offer? And then, boom, it's like he just turns it up an entire notch. So I honestly think that because the Nuggets have played so many games, they might come out with extra confidence that first game, probably win or at least push it to a really close game. And then the Lakers with the counterpunch, man, it might take the wind out of their sail, dude. What about you? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking the Nuggets will be able to steal Game 1. If they don't steal Game 1, I think they're in big trouble, dude. But I think they're a team that plays with a lot of confidence. So I think if they're able to steal Game 1, I think that might spur them onto a long series because they're so confident. Because Jamal Murray's a guy who plays with a lot of swag and a lot of confidence. I think they need to get Game 1. I think Game 1 is going to be pivotal for the Nuggets because if they come out and they get worked in Game 1. Although that happened with the Clippers, but I think this is a different team, man. This is a different team. They got it.
They are. They do got a little swag, man. MPJ with the wild comments. I think Jamal was like, can't count us out. Jokic is just like, hey, I am who I am. So
Yeah.
they got a little personality in the team. Bobo just chilling on the bench, man. So nothing but love for these Nuggets, man. I think it'll be a good series. Honestly, I think that the more experience is going to pay off for the Lakers. We'll find out here pretty soon, man. So be on the lookout, man. That's the Western Conference preview. Let us know if you agree with our take on the Western Conference Finals. Is Will right? Am I right? Are we both wrong? Are we both right? Just let us know in the comments, man. Be sure to subscribe to us. We got more guests on the way coming up very soon. We got more takes on these playoffs. Probably do some in-game, some post-game analysis of these games really soon as well. So be on the lookout. Just Hoop Talk, another edition in the books.
Yes, sir. Peace.
For more NBA, college, and hoops coverage, be sure to subscribe to Just Hoop Talk podcast on YouTube and all streaming platforms.